What's your blood alcohol content?
How did you get camo Jordans?
They make them. Is it not a word? Dude, it is too a word. You harken back.
You harking back.
No, you
right?
do not. I was useless.
Wait, hold on. Delonica?
I'm hurting, man.
Are you puking? Did you just bust out a Sargento?
We're a Tillamook family.
What's the proper technique to milk the teat? If they are competing for state championships, they ain't paying for their blizzards. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Marty Smith podcast here at Outsider. I'm Marty. He's Wesley. Travis is on board as well, wearing his fancy pants new Masters hoodie from Augusta National Golf Club. That thing is sweet. It was blowing. It was very blustery on Saturday at Augusta National, and we were both freezing our asses off. So Travis went and spent, $85, $90 a piece on those bad boys, but it was worth every single dime, son.
No, I think
Were y'all ready for the weather?
they were only like $60, I want to say.
Well, they were. I don't care if they were $160. They are worth it. I mean, those things are sweet. I gave mine to Lanester, and she is rocking it. Easter was awesome. Tons of family in town. Lainey's parents are here. Her sisters are here. All their little rugrats running around, and the holidays are extra special when you got little ones running around, excited to find the eggs that we hid that they decorated. I got to listen. I got to show you.
What's going on?
Check this out.
What's happening?
There is a device. All right. When I was little, and we dyed the eggs, right, so that the Easter Bunny could come get them and do all the Easter Bunny stuff. There was this wire device that was shaped in a hexagonal, octagonal. I don't know. Maybe it's 8 sides.
No, that thing's a hex.
I think it's a hex too. A hexagonal, stagonal formation. And you held the egg in the hexagonal formation and you dipped it in the food coloring. And that was pretty much the extent of your effort. Not anymore. These days,
What do they do now?
My nephews showed up with some gadget, and it was like a scary as hell Easter Bunny looking thing. And it had a motor in it, and it had like a twisty conveyor belt looking rotation device. And you can put the egg in it oblong, and it spins.
What is it, like virtual reality?
It spins the egg for you, so that all you have to do is take the marker or the paint marker and place it on the egg, and it creates perfectly parallel lines around your egg. So there's this one. And then, look at this guy. Look at this. It looks like a planet.
Visual show.
Yeah, it looks like a planet. For those of you listening on Apple or what else is there? Spotify, wherever else we are.
Spotify.
These eggs are
YouTubes.
beautifully ornate with perfectly parallel lines, multicolored. They're absolutely phenomenal. Now, I shared that with you.
Did you make one?
I did not make one because I didn't want to take over the exercise. I wanted the kids to have the experience.
That's good.
Now,
Daddy.
Mia, my 12-year-old, soon to be 13-year-old, is extremely artistic. She has awesome imagination. She writes a lot. She reads voraciously. She can read. She gets bored because she doesn't have any new books to read, and she's already read every Harry Potter book 5 times a piece. She tears through those things like a pack of locusts. Well, she decided to do seasonal Easter eggs. Look at this. Here's spring. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look how ornate.
You can't make that in the machine.
I just dropped it.
Oh my gosh.
I just dropped it, but I got it.
Is it hard boiled?
It is hard boiled. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. It is hard boiled. That might be the only.
About to cancel this show.
And here's, maybe that's fall. I'm not sure. There's no leaves on the tree, so I'm thinking that might be fall. So you see what I'm saying? Like extreme. There's like the Amen corner or something she's painted on the back of that egg. But as you can see, extremely ornate. And I was just really taken aback by that. Vivian went with the peep route. As you can see, very fancy.
Dude, I was in line at the store over the weekend, Saturday night, and I saw this family cart stacked to the gills. Dad comes up out of nowhere, he has in his hand 3 packets of Peeps, slams them down like a winning hand at Vegas, and says, "These are from me."
These are for me, Jack. Were they pink? Were they all yellow? Did he?
He had purples, yellows, pinks. His family was just appalled.
I mean,
Dad, what are you doing?
If you get the whole Roy G. Biv of the Peep world, then you have definitely hit the lottery. And one other it was so cool to have everybody here. We had so much fun. We had a great day yesterday on Easter Sunday, hanging out, having a great day. And another thing that I love about Easter, which I also love about Thanksgiving and Christmas, is the leftover sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
That is provided with great bounty by the holiday dinner feast. All right. So on Easter, we do a ham. Everybody does a ham on Easter, right? Mm-hmm. And so my mother-in-law cooked this ham for us. And I couldn't wait for this bad boy right here. The leftover ham sandwich.
So what do you have on there?
Oh, you got some Virginia baked honey ham. You got some white American cheese. And you have enough yellow mustard to drown. And that's it. That's the whole sandwich. And it is phenomenal. Now, if you're getting really aggressive, you can maybe put a little extra salt on it. But
okay. Yeah, I had more of like a lunch bowl. You know, they have a breakfast bowl where you can put your scramble in it. My bowl today just turned into a mix of green beans, some sort of potato casserole dish with cheese in it, ham, and I skipped out on the dinner roll. And for some reason, my wife forgot to grab the deviled eggs for me, so I'm a little upset about that. But other than that, the bowl was great, and it's probably the only one I'm going to eat. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in an ambulance.
Well, leaving out the deviled eggs isn't a bad thing. That's a victory.
What are you talking about, man? Deviled eggs are a Southern delicacy.
Come on, Travis. Tell us what your Yankee leftover Easter meal looks like.
Travis lives in Nashville now, and they have over there at the Pancake House, that Pancake Restaurant. What's it called, Travis? I forget. It's like some super fancy pants, well-known breakfast joint in Nashville. And on their menu, they have fancy deviled eggs that you can order for like an appetizer for your breakfast.
If you want to get a scotched egg, fine. But deviled eggs are
scotched. What the hell is a scotched egg?
It's not a hard boil. It's like a soft boil. Then you take your sausage or some kind of meat, you wrap it, and then you deep fry it.
Wow. I didn't realize they did that up there. Okay.
Is that how is that how Scottish people eat eggs?
I don't know, but that's just what it's called. But I didn't have, I'm a bachelor, so my Easter dinner was not, my apartment was like just a regular Sunday.
I went to Austria several years ago for the Special Olympics World Games to cover the World Games for ESPN. And I stayed in an Austrian hotel, and every single morning they bring you one of those eggs like that. It's soft inside. It's like hard boiled on the outside or something, but it's soft inside, and there's a hole in the top. It's like a really elaborate deal.
How about Reese's eggs?
Well, they're the GOAT. I mean, there is no equal in the candy world. Nothing compares to the Reese Cup egg. Wesley came packing heat. I like that. Everyone needs to make sure that they have proper ammunition. Wesley does today. I'm not wrong. The Reese egg is the Reese Christmas tree is a nice addition. Of course, the OG Reese Cup is the OG Reese Cup. And there's the Big Cup. Big Cup is like a real big deal, but the egg is the one.
It almost seems like an accident because it's just in that shape of an egg. It's aerodynamic. They didn't really have to do anything to it. I imagine on the assembly line, they just shoot that thing out there and it's ready to go. And it's got the best ratio of chocolate to peanut butter of all of the eggs that the Reese's family, of all the Reese's cups that the Reese's family makes.
What I want to know, and I've pondered this for some time, is what does Reese's do to their peanut butter? Because I mean, there are various genres of peanut butter, and my favorite is Skippy Natural. Now, it has a lot of sugar in it, I admit. But Reese peanut butter is it's a different thing altogether. It's a dessert. I mean, all of it is a dessert. I wonder if they put like confectionery sugar in their peanut butter. What do you think?
I don't know. I made a mistake last year because I looked at the peanut butter and in my mind, my sugar mind, said, well, it's probably somewhat good for me because there's protein in it. And I ate a Reese's egg for breakfast every day until I ran out after Easter. And that was a very poor dietary choice by me. So this year I'm trying to have a little bit more discipline because there is a lot of sugar in it. And it's probably about 1 gram of protein. Not really getting me where I need to go.
I eat a lot of peanut butter. It's one of my vices. I want to discuss a couple things that happened in NASCAR this week. That race at Bristol was crazy. The way it unfolded, certainly the way it ended. I mean, if you guys didn't see it, you should go back and try to watch the replay. Tyler Reddick drives for Richard Childress. He drives the number 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. Tremendously talented young man. Absolute wheel man, and has been up front a lot. I mean, he's always kind of lurking, it seems, and at many different types of racetracks. And then you have Chase Briscoe, who has now drives Tony Stewart's number 14 car, got his first win very recently, and so those two are battling over the last few laps of the race for this victory, and Reddick has the lead, and he's doing his best to maintain the lead, doing his best not to worry about what Briscoe's doing behind him, maintain his line, run his line, and see how it all transpires. Meanwhile, Briscoe is driving with his hair on fire, doing his very best to find lines that can allow him to make up ground. He was really, really good in 1 and 2. He was not as good in 3 and 4, but as the race made its way towards its conclusion, he figured 3 and 4 out much better, and he was closing on Reddick to the point where in the final quarter he bombed it and went for it, trying to win a race, and spun them both out. And out of nowhere, half a straightaway back, more than that, probably a whole corner back, was Kyle Busch, who came out of nowhere in the 18 car to win at Bristol for the 9th time in his career. That's unbelievable. And to earn a dirt race victory, I give them all credit, man. That thing came a long way from last year. I think they did a phenomenal job. And congratulations to Kyle. But, man, if all you have to do is see Richard Childress' face after that race, just utter disgust. Just utter disgust that they built a race car capable of winning, that Tyler drove 499 laps in a fashion that could earn a victory for that organization, and then Chase going for it. Now, I give Chase a ton of credit. He got out of his race car and he marched his butt right down to Tyler's race car, and he said, "I'm sorry, dude, I wrecked us both. I was going for a win." And Tyler, being a racer, totally got it. He's like, I ain't happy about it, but I get it. And I think ultimately NASCAR won because it was a really thrilling finish. Darrell Waltrip back in the booth was really cool for Fox Sports, for NASCAR. Clint did a really good job as always, and Mike Joy is just awesome. So it was a really good experience for the viewer from my perspective. What did y'all think?
I mean, I felt like that end looked like a scene out of Mad Max. It was incredible. Like, if you want to watch someone win on a dirt track, that's how you want to see it go down. Obviously not for the guys that spun out and lost, but Kyle Busch was just there. Said, hey, y'all can't do it, I'll take it. And you're right about how far they came from last year. I remember the photos of the track cracking up and, you know, just the cars not being able to handle it, not being ready for it. And now we've since then seen the race at the Coliseum, which we've talked a ton about being a huge win for people that don't watch a lot of NASCAR and for people that do watch NASCAR. And now this one, they've turned it around, man.
I mean, going back to the fact that Kyle Busch has now won 9 times at Bristol Motor Speedway. I mean, it's such a remarkable accomplishment and an historic accomplishment. His career is amazing. He's still really young. He has done it all. He's a multiple-time Cup Series champion. He is a dad now, and I think it's so cool. Look, I've covered Kyle since he was 16, when he came into the Truck Series and did some races for Roush Racing way back in the day because his brother Kurt was driving for Roush. And both of those guys were just young and aggressive and were just racing with their hair on fire all the time, and they became very, very polarizing competitors, and they'll be the first to tell you that. And with age, it's been fun to watch both of those guys make their paths to where they are currently. They're both champions of the Cup Series. Kurt won the Daytona 500, I think in 2017, I want to say, driving for Tony Stewart in the 41 car. I had that great moment this year at Daytona when Kurt took me around the race car in the Toyota Pace car. Of course, Kurt now drives for Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin at 2311 Racing, and he took me around the racetrack, and I really enjoyed both of those guys. I do. Watching Kyle as a dad and watching him mentor his little boy in all these dirt races that his little boy's racing, it's really fun to watch. And his little boy has that same competitive desire that Kyle has. So it'll be fun to continue to watch his son grow and develop as a racer, and it's fun for me to watch Kyle grow and develop as a person, as a man. And the same goes for Kurt, for that matter. So awesome job by Kyle, making sure he was there at the end when it mattered and taking advantage of those two guys having misfortune. And going back to Chase Briscoe walking down pit road and looking Tyler right in the eye. It wasn't no damn text message, I'm sorry. It wasn't a phone call. It was, I'm going to walk down there and I'm going to tell that man face to face, I dumped us both. And it sucks. And I'm sorry, and I want you to know I'm sorry.
What's that like down on pit row when you're
Chaos.
not sure if it's gonna be cordial or if it's gonna be something else?
It's awesome. I used to love every bit of that, man. There was a moment, and I think I've discussed it on the show here in the past, that there was a fight once between Jeff Gordon's crew and Brad Keselowski's crew back when Jeff was driving a 24 and Brad Keselowski was driving a 2-car for Roger Penske at Texas Motor Speedway. And it was a small-town throwdown, son. It was badass. And Jamie Little, speaking of badass, Fox Sports pit road reporter, she came blowing in there. There was a huge scrum of people, and Jamie came in there, and it was her job to try to interview those two in that moment of angst and disgust and intensity and passion and overflowing passion. And I didn't, by no means did I was trying to make sure that Jamie didn't take a random elbow or fist in the face if somebody was throwing a punch. And so I tried kind of to get between her and the scrum, and she wasn't having it. I mean, she threw me out of the way. She's like, hell no, this is my scrum. This is my interview, and you get the hell out of my way. And it was very funny. There's a still photograph of us that someone took from like the press box area, from above looking down on pit road, and her face is like, she's got her hand in my face like this. Like, get the hell out of my way, dude. And so I love that. I loved when, that's one of the coolest things about NASCAR. And for years, rivalries are what built the sport. Rivalries made NASCAR. It was Dale and Darrell. It was Dale and Rusty. It was Dale and Jeff. It was the Allisons and Cale Yarborough in the 1979 Daytona 500. There's a fight. I mean, one of the most famous moments in the history of the sport. And as NASCAR tried to get more refined and grow into corporate America and make its way to California and Las Vegas and for a time we kept hearing there's going to be a track in Seattle. There's going to be a track on Long Island. We heard that forever. As they were making that movement and that growth, they wanted to tamp down the fights and the rivalries. Hell no. No. Throw down.
Yeah, what if people just stopped fighting in hockey? Like, that is such a part of the sport, and it's amazing to think about how much of a part of NASCAR fighting was.
I want it to matter that much to you. Like, I want it to matter that much to you that if you're out there and you are absolutely giving every last ounce of yourself, if you get wrecked at the end of a race, you should be pissed off. And it's like, I remember at Martinsville a few years ago, Matt Kenseth had enough of Joey Logano and drove his ass straight into the fence. Just drove right into the fence. And, like, people love it. Conflict sells. It has, it will, it always will. And that's how, like, that's one thing I love about racing, about NASCAR racing. And now they're starting to, bring that back. Like, okay, we're not going to penalize that as strictly. We might have a conversation with you two. We're still representing a lot of corporate American companies, so we can't be a bunch of wild heathen idiots. But I love it. I mean, I want to see that. And kudos to Briscoe for walking right down there to Reddick and saying, hey, it's on me, dude. You owe me one.
Yeah, it's funny in the pit crews, you mentioned the fight between those guys. Like, they see each other every week. And I bet there's a guy that one of them sees, and he just looks at him and says, I don't like him. I don't like that guy. And he's just waiting for a chance to throw a haymaker at him, and he's praying for it. Well,
I mean, there's a lot for NASCAR to be celebrating right now, in my opinion. I think the sport just has such great momentum, and they're heading to Talladega, which is my favorite place on the tour. It's just as authentically NASCAR as there is. You go to Talladega Boulevard in your motorhome or your RV or your fifth wheel, and you park that thing on Talladega Boulevard, and you have all kinds out there. You'll be partying all weekend long next to some defense lawyer on one side and a neurosurgeon on the other side, and all they want to do is sling beers and cornhole bags and watch racing. And it's just an amazing time.
Well, think about this. There's been 10 races this year. Not one repeat winner yet.
Yep, Briscoe's close.
I mean, this season is nuts.
I mean, and that parity is really good. And, I mean, I think I said on here, I forget where I said it. I might have said it on Marty and McGee. Forgive me, a lot of things run together when you're old like me. But I figured that Denny Hamlin would have he was nowhere. Like, he had been nowhere. And I said he's going to win. Like, he will win. And I think when you're talking about superstars in the sport, you want to have, when you get to I still call it the chase, when you get to the NASCAR playoff, you want to have your Chase Elliott's, your Kevin Harvick's, your Kyle Busch's, your Kurt Busch's, like the guys that really pin the needle. And right now, we have all of these young dudes who are, winning and succeeding and running up front. You got Austin Cindric winning the Daytona 500. You got Chase Briscoe winning at Phoenix, Arizona. You got these young dudes who are making noise. And I think that's also beneficial for the sport.
It's kind of like the NCAA tournament. You want some upsets early on, and then you want your big names to come through.
Yeah, you definitely want your St. Peter's. Which, how about 3 of those dudes transfer? I guess their coach left, right?
Yeah.
Their coach went to Seton Hall, so I can see why they'd leave. Make some money.
Junior's going to be in the booth at Dega.
Yeah, how about that,
Pretty
man?
sweet.
How about NBC letting Dale Jr. be in the booth for Fox at Talladega? Wow, how about that? What do you think about that?
I think that NASCAR just gets what they're doing right now. Their production, every decision they're making and allowing, and the things that are happening within it, I think there's a momentum just based on our conversations at Daytona that there is like a unity of whatever is best for the sport is good with us. So I don't know what went into those conversations in the boardrooms, but I'm happy to hear it.
I'm guessing that on the back end of the season, Boyer or something like that is going to be in the booth with NBC, because NBC letting Dale go to Fox, those ratings are going to be insane. It's Talladega anyways, plus Dale. So I'm guessing NBC is going to get a make good on the back end too, because that's the bigger story, is just the two networks getting together like that.
It really is a hell of a statement. It's a hell of a statement on. I mean, look, everybody wins, really. Everybody wins in this decision. The sport most certainly wins. Dale Jr. is the most important, strongest voice in the garage and has been for years and years. And in this moment where there is so much upward momentum for the sport, I mean, he is the king of Talladega. He won 6 times there. And Brad Zager, who is the Fox Sports president of production and operation and the executive producer of the broadcast, said Dale joining us in the booth says so much about his love for the sport of NASCAR, and there's absolutely no one more equipped to call a race at Talladega. We appreciate he's willing to share his time and experience for the upcoming Fox NASCAR race on one of NASCAR's most popular venues, and we are grateful to NBC Sports for letting Dale spend his time with us. I mean, it's like that.
I mean,
is
Marty, it's similar to how ESPN and CBS kind of have a wink, wink, nod, nod during the Masters. In Talladega.
It is and it's not. I mean, it is and it's not. Now, if NBC was broadcasting the Xfinity race, and I see what you're saying. Like it was, I'll tell you, one of the wildest moments of my whole career was being at the PGA Championship last May, getting ready to interview Phil Mickelson after the Friday round, and Jim Nance throwing down to me. I mean, I about puked all over myself. I couldn't believe it.
I would.
I mean, I could not believe. I mean, I was grinning my ass. Phil Mickelson had those humongous bug eye sunglasses on, and while we're in the middle, so I'm interviewing Phil. He's playing really well, and all of a sudden, the production staff comes in my ear and goes, "Marty." I forget who it was, guys. I'm sorry. There was one of the golfers double bogeyed 18 or double bogeyed 17. I forget the context. But the point is, Phil Mickelson took the lead. And they tell me that real time live on the air, and I get to go, Phil, I just want you to know that you are the leader of the PGA Championship. What are your thoughts? Like right there live on air, and that's when he said famously in my mind, I'll see you on Sunday. And if that's still the case on Sunday, we'll have another conversation. Of course, he went on to become the oldest major champion ever by winning the PGA Championship at the Ocean Course at Kiowa Island. Back to the point, like it's amazing that NBC and Fox have decided if Dale Jr. wants to do this, let's do it, because Wes, you said it's so great for the sport. I mean, it's great to have him doing the race, and I know he's giddy about it. I mean, he's been you got to remember, Mike Joy called his father's Daytona 500 victory in 1998. So it's pretty cool that Junior will be in that booth with Mike and Clint, and Mike and Junior and Clint are super good buddies. So it'll be fun. That broadcast will be fun as hell. I know that.
Mike is amazing because they put him sometimes with 2 analysts in there, and his ability to call what's out there, but then let the drivers, the analysts, do the random tangents and talk. Like, he is
insanely talented man. Just muscle memory. One of the things that I was just actually talking to Jordan Spieth about this, and this is way inside baseball. This is admitting things maybe I shouldn't, but I'm standing there at the par 3 at the Masters, and this storm is coming in, and they've decided to call the par 3 contest a little bit early. So he's standing on the putting green with his wife and his little boy, and I've just interviewed Rory, who his little girl was running around, and chatted with Rory. And I run over and I asked Jordan, I'm like, hey, man, I know you're hopping. Could I just get you real quick before we get off air here? And he's like, sure. And so Sean McDonough and Curtis Strange and our group are going through their thoughts on the action that's being played and finished up right that moment. And I turned to Jordan and I was like, hey, bro, this is embarrassing, but you won the 2015 Masters, right? He goes, yeah, 2015. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm doing a shitload of sports right now, and I'm just doing my best to keep it together. And he started laughing his ass off. He was like, didn't I just see you with Coach K? So anyway, standing there chatting with him about that. But it's the truth. Like when you do a sport full time, all the time, like when I did NASCAR for 17 years, you build this muscle memory not only about what's going on in the moment, because Mike is a meticulous preparer of fact, but also he has a cachet of history seared into his mind that he can pull at any moment, any time, and you never have to question its accuracy. And that is an invaluable resource to Fox Sports that he has that, and to NASCAR fans like us.
Hey, speaking of Jordan Spieth getting the win at Hilton Head, last 2 wins now, including this one, have been on Easter Sunday, and you know what is on Easter Sunday next year?
Is it the Masters?
It is.
Well, and also the last 2 PGA events have been won by Hook'em.
Yeah.
They do say hook 'em, I've learned.
Texas is
Spieth-
definitely back.
Texas is back.
Until the fall comes around and they
Texas
lose in
is
football.
back, yeah. I mean, if I'm Steve Sarkisian, I'm recruiting those boys to go out on the road with me. Did you see what Scotty Scheffler said about his green jacket and washing the dishes? That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it was Golf Digest. He told
No, what'd he say?
they were asking about his green jacket, and he's like, my wife is, Meredith is over here telling me, like, it's time to wash the dishes. And he says he just puts on his green jacket and goes, is it?
I mean, I would wear that out
a
in town.
flex,
So
man.
if they're like, go to a fancy restaurant where you need to have reservations and just walk in and this is my reservation.
Again,
My
the
jacket
beauty of the moment for that young man is golf does not define me. And I want to say about Jordan Spieth.
But it defines him in the household chores and the honeydew list.
Well, that's right. When they come around, that's right. With Jordan Spieth, I mean, he was a wonder kind. I mean, he was a prodigy. And people are saying after he wins the Masters in 15, oh, he's going to break Tiger Woods' records. He's going to break Jack Nicklaus's records. He's going to win every major. And golf is such a fickle challenge that you can be the greatest in the world and then you can lose it. And Jordan's unwillingness to let it define him while he was making his way through the struggle, I think is remarkable, because there are so many athletes who don't come back from that. And he has done it in spades, and now he's, of course, won the RBC Heritage last weekend, and it also bears mention that I love that moment. Travis found this moment and shot it our way, that the PGA Tour posted this on their social media feeds, that as Jordan finished his round, he was going to the clubhouse to sign his card or wait out the opportunity for a playoff. And there were, 50 kids, something like that. I mean, a lot of kids.
A lot.
Yeah, it was like they have the area set up where it's like kids.
There's a lot
only
of
for
kids.
autographs.
And he's a hero to these kids. And I loved what he did. Guys, I have to focus on the game right now. I might have an opportunity to win this golf tournament. We don't know yet. But you have my word, I'm coming back. I will be back. And then, of course, what happens? He does end up winning the golf tournament, and he has on his plaid jacket, and he walks his butt over there, and he spends time signing every one of their autographs, taking photographs with them, making the kids' lives, and making their mamas' lives, for that matter. The moms were just as giddy as the kids were. And I just love that. It says so much about his spirit. I've said to him every time I've seen him, his spirit is amazing. He's just a wonderful person.
Hook 'em. Got his first win as a dad.
Yep.
What is the chore, Marty, that you're so bad at? Speaking of the Scotty Scheffler getting off the hook for the dishes, is there a chore that you're so bad at that you are no longer allowed to do it?
Well, it's not that I'm so bad at. It's just that I don't. So I will do anything. I will do anything in the home. But Leinster handles the laundry. Leinster is the laundry goddess. She handles the laundry. I'll do anything else. I'll do any and everything else. Whatever. Dishes, vacuuming. I don't care. I'll do it all. But Mama handles the laundry. And God bless her. Y'all, I don't know where the hell the clothes come from. We have piles, mounds. It's insane how much laundry she has to do. My 16-year-old son. Now, I don't know how. I don't even know how he has this many clothes.
That's not laundry. That is toxic
It is.
waste.
It is, and it's gross. and he stinks. But God bless Lane. She does all the laundry. What's yours? What are you bad at, Wesley?
It's laundry, and I've stepped up. I do my own now, so I at least kind of meet her halfway.
That's
but
a good
she
man.
Watched the whatever that Netflix documentary is where they show you how to fold your clothes the right way and be a minimalist and all this stuff.
Yeah, I've not seen
Once Brittany watched that, it was game over because I can't fold the towels the right way. They go into little triangles like you're folding the American flag, I think is how you're supposed to do it. And
That's how you're supposed to put your towels away?
I don't know. See, I don't know, and that's probably why I'm no longer allowed to touch them. But that's it for me too. It's the laundry. So I'm not complaining. I handle mine and stay out of her way.
I have to do all my chores, but as a kid, I attempted to mow the lawn, but the lines weren't straight enough for my dad, so he just stopped.
That leads me
telling to
right
mow
into
the
something
yard.
that has to be
was-
discussed that I have forgotten about, and I forgot to mention a week ago. Travis has such overwhelming obsessive compulsive disorder. It is something to behold. I did not know this. He and I have been friends for, I don't know, damn near 10 years now, I bet. When did we meet? Like 14 maybe? Something like that? 15? I don't know. Been a while.
15,
Anyway.
16.
Known each other a while. I can't describe to y'all how many times, whether it was how I drive my truck, it's pouring rain at Augusta National, and he is all over me like a duck on a June bug because I got my windshield wipers on.
What are you doing, Travis? Are you
No,
backseat driving?
No,
Oh, big time.
here's the thing, Wes. Is it was pouring, and so the wipers were going super fast, and then it like stopped to a drizzle, but he still has his wipers going a million miles a second. It's just not. Turn it down, and like, but every time that I brought something up, you know what he said? You sound just like Laney. So I'll take that as a
Travis
compliment.
texted Laney.
And clean up your room too. You had like coffee.
Travis
cups all
texted
over his
Laney
room.
that I was losing my mind about his mouth and the windshield wipers. And Laney goes, "Oh, Lord, he's triggered." She wasn't wrong. I did tell Travis to STHU. We had wanted to have the guys from Midland on for some time, and in fact, we tried it way back, I think, during the pandemic, and my internet decided it didn't want to work. And fortunately, Travis made enough fun of me that I got new internet, and it works swimmingly. It is much better. I don't have all that weird, garbled, what do my kids call it, laggy? My kids call it laggy. We don't have that.
Damn kids, they don't even know what dial-up is.
No, they do not. They don't know what dial-up is. I try to explain to them that when I was a kid, our idea of wireless phone was being able
Cordless.
to cordless. Yeah, well, we didn't. When I'm so much older than you two clowns that we had the long. If you got the super long cord that you could bring into your bedroom, dude, you have made it in life. And
Were you old enough to have the party line? Are you too young for that one?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
What is that, like politics?
No, like my dad, like they had this like part. It was called like a party line. I forget exactly what it was, but you're too young for that one. But you remember when like you had the wireless, but if you left it off the charger, then it didn't work, and it was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
catastrophe.
Yeah, I got pissed off real bad because I was we went to, I think it was the SEC basketball tournament in Tampa, and all I wanted to do was get room service and go to bed. And my damn phone was dead in the room. They didn't have a corded phone. It was a cordless phone, and I could tell when I grabbed the phone that it was joggled off of the stand.
Joggled.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know.
So how about when the cordless had the button at like the home dock where you could hit it
Find it?
and it would go beep, 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 beep. It was like a siren, like a European ambulance siren somewhere in your house. But now if you lose your iPhone, you have to buy an Apple Watch to hit that button. So in some ways, we're just recreating technology we already had, and in some cases, it was a lot better because that button.
Wes, does your wife lose her phone all day, every day?
Oh yes, and she, I'm like her phone wrangler. I wanted to do one of those like dollar in the jar things where anytime she said the sentence, "I can't find my phone," she had to put $1 in. But now she just doesn't say it. She's just silent about it. She just goes hunting. I know what she's looking for.
And if you did, the grocery bill would be handled for the week rapidly. Yeah, Lainey. So, I mean, it blows my mind. It's 4 or 5 times a day. She's like, Martin, have you seen my phone? No, I have not seen your phone. I do not. And actually, my sisters-in-law were here for Easter last week, and they had this whole conversation about this, how guys have it made because we just put ours in our pocket. We just take it and slide it right in that front pocket, and they're like, we don't have pockets. We wear yoga pants. They ain't got no pockets in the front. I think they do make some fancy pants, yoga pants that have like the side pocket though, right?
That's the new thing now with like women's attire, but also just athletic wear. There's like within the pocket is a phone pocket, so your phone doesn't like bounce around when you run and stuff.
Travis, are you about to give us a full breakdown of what's in with women's clothing? Because
you know
sounds
me,
like that's something you've studied.
Fashion and workout. Those
Travis
are
is a
my
fashionista.
2 areas of expertise. That's all.
All right, well, all the way back to Midland. It was awesome to spend time with those guys. Again, they have a brand new record coming out, The Last Resort, Greetings from May 6th. And we actually did this interview, fellas, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, something like that. So
It's been more. I think more than a month
been a bit.
actually.
we are excited to we wanted to save it. We wanted to hold it until closer to when their record was coming out, so you guys were ready. And a week out is it a week out or 2 weeks out maybe? It's about 2 weeks out now.
Yeah, about 2 weeks out.
Y'all make sure you get on that. Y'all going to love this. Those dudes are funny. We appreciated their time. I've mastered the English language. Here's Midland on the Marty Smith Podcast. It is awesome to welcome 2 of the 3 members of Midland. Jess is sick today, so he's not here, but Mark and Cameron are. And, fellas, I'm hungover from 2 nights ago, so we're going to start with alcohol. Okay. How? Yeah, man, it was a rough. I'm 46 years old, boys. It's a hell of a challenge to get back to right when you really get on one.
That's rough.
Yeah, it gets the mountain gets steeper and steeper.
Yes.
You're saying you have a 2-day hangover and you're needing some sort of therapy?
2-day hangover. I'm in the middle of the therapy session now.
Marty just needs some advice. How do
y'all
handle
manage
these things?
this when you have a 2-day hangover?
Oh, dude, it's the worst. In fact, you have to really plan your life around a 2-day hangover. You know, if you know you're going to have a 2-day hangover, or you know there's an event coming up on your calendar that's going to require you to engage enough drinking to deal with a 2-day hangover, then you have to make sure that everything after that day, the 2 days afterwards, requires very little participation in the way of work,
No question.
fathering children, or husbandry.
Yes.
And if you can avoid...
I'm looking at your tour dates now, and you have 2 weeks between Las Vegas and Winter Haven, California. So I think I understand where you're coming from there.
I've actually looked at those dates too, but the problem is the first night in Vegas is Saturday, and we have to be there till Tuesday morning. So
yeah,
I'm already thinking about Sunday and Monday as potential crisis management kind of scenarios there, you know.
These dudes have a show Saturday night. They're playing the NASCAR race Sunday and the ACM's Monday, right, fellas? That is a gauntlet in Vegas.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet.
Man, that's just like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for us. That's the
Well,
norm.
we're
It
out.
is literally a Tuesday, Wednesday.
We always got our feet dangling out of the copter, living on the edge here. By the way, to me, whenever I get a 2-day hangover, that's when I walk it back. When I get the 2-day hangover, now being a dad, that's when I know that I'm like, okay, I just came right to the edge of the cliff. I looked over it, and now it's time to back down, and drink a couple more seltzers in between.
So I was really intrigued that y'all got in. Y'all are in the liquor business. How did y'all end up in the tequila business?
We are. For me personally, I was born in the alcohol business. My family owns a bar, a little honky tonk that I was born and raised in. So I was around it my whole life, and I grew up right on the Mexican border of Arizona. And the mezcal tequila culture was just a part of my upbringing. When Cameron and I met each other, I think we bonded over our love of tequila as well as Jess, because we were searching for something that would kind of burn clean, something that you could have in the studio, something you could have on the road and drink on a regular basis and not have those crazy 2-day white knuckle hangovers. Yeah, and what we found is that tequila, the agave is it burns a little different than the rest of the alcohol, and so we set out to create a super premium, high quality, traditionally distilled and made tequila that would burn bright in the night and set us down easy when it's time to go to bed and wake up the next day and have a bright head. So that's kind of what it started off as. Plus, we were drinking so much Herradura at the time. We looked at each other and we said, if we could just capture the money we're spending on Herradura, we could be rich.
What makes a good agave when you're looking at a plant? Can you look at one and be like, yeah, that's a winner. That one's gonna.
Cameron can. He's like Cameron's like an agave. What would you call it?
Whisperer?
Cameron? Like a witcher. Where
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
like
find
agave
water with a
diviner.
stick. Cameron can find the good agave.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I can't tell
Yeah.
you what it is because if I did, then you'd start your own tequila company. I
Well, that's
made
that,
the
I'm
mistake
taking
of
notes, and
telling Thomas Rhett.
putting agave in my garden.
Yeah, well, there's imposters out there, dude. There's people starting
Okay.
tequila companies now because it's in vogue. So don't be those people, Marty and Wes.
Damn
Basically, it's already done. Like the ship has sailed. If you're thinking about starting a tequila company, don't find another spirit. The market is maxed out. Insolito is going to dominate. What else can I say? I mean, it's cutthroat out there. Just drink it.
Wes, what you were asking, what makes a good agave is a happy agave. Something that's grown in the wild, that is in the right climates. Jalisco is where our agaves are grown, near Mazamitla. It's a blend of lowland and highland agaves. But what makes a tequila, what differentiates something like Insolito, that is traditionally cooked, the piñas themselves, you have to cook them and press the juice, and then you distill them. The trick is to have a purity along the way and not to be adding impurities. Most tequila companies, to speed up the process of distillation and to cut on costs, they will not use premium materials. For instance, in the casks that they age the tequila in order to get flavors and to get a flavor profile the way that they deem is palpable for their audience, they'll add a bunch of additives, and that's the shit that gives you a hangover. And you'll see that in the majority of air quotations super premium tequilas, and most of them are made in tequila factories alongside numerous brands and labels, where they're essentially kind of taking the same juice and then just adding a bunch of different additives to make it their own flavor profile. But nothing about it is traditional. Nothing about it is reverential to the mezcaleros and to the beautiful magical process of making mezcal, which is tequila from the blue agave.
I've noticed we'll get into videos in a minute because I'm interested in the fact that Cameron directs these things, and namely your latest one, which is funny as hell. I want to know how many punches it took, fake punches. I want to know where the hell you got that Bronco. I want the whole thing. But I want, how does having this tequila accentuate your brand? I mean, it sounds like a passion project. Obviously, you don't want to lose your ass on it. But how are you using it as artists?
The brand, our Insolito?
Yeah.
How are we using? I mean, we're drinking it like out of the gates. I mean, that's how we're using it practically. I mean, you really just have to think about. I mean, it's no different than somebody starting a cowboy hat company or something like that if they were in country music, or you use your platform to bring awareness to the product. I mean, this is all very like art and commerce and kind of boring, I imagine. But I mean,
Not to me. That's why I asked it.
oh, okay. Well, um, I mean, like, how would you, if you were selling a guitar, and you had like what you thought was the best guitar, and you were a musician, you're going to use that guitar on stage. You're going to talk about it as much as you can, as long as it's relevant to the conversation, and kind of integrate it into your world in a way that doesn't seem phony or forced, and luckily that is as fluid for us, tequila, as maybe a guitar would be. I mean, maybe not as important to the creation process, but certainly part of our, couple times a week lifestyle, not every single day, as we've been trying to maintain a certain level of sobriety after COVID. But I think that there's a way to use it. I'm not going to use the word medicinal because I think that that's a bridge too far. Mark would probably, but it's dangerous. I think it's definitely something that could be used as um, a communal way of having a sharing an experience with your buddies, or just going on an overnight drunk by yourself. Either way.
Yeah, so I mean, people are drinking Insolito, listening to your song, and maybe they hear a little bit something extra. They hear something different because they know they feel like they're part of the
I wouldn't
crew.
go that far.
All right.
Maybe. I guess you're trying to sell that kind of thing, but you're also,
Maybe.
I don't, we hope that the tequila stands for itself. So it could live without Midland, and there's really no mention of Midland on the bottle or in the packaging. It's about the Herrera.
The bottle looks sweet.
Thank you.
By the way.
Thank you. We designed the bottle. We worked with the Herrera brothers, who really are the stars of this tequila. They're the ones that distill it. They're the ones with the generational understanding of how to make it tasty, and not give you that 2-day hangover. And it's distilled in the highest distillery of tequila in the world. And I think the altitude does have something to do with the way that it tastes and the way that it's concocted, distilled, brewed. But like I think Mark and I and Jess always really wanted to do was it to transcend the Midland thing, and it just kind of stand on its own. But yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt if you've got the new album, The Last Resort, coming out on May 6th with a bottle of Insolito, and you drop the needle on that sucker, and you've got a glass of Reposado on the rocks as you're enjoying our 11-song LP.
There you go.
Was that forced? Or was
That's
that
the medicinal
integrated into
quality.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was a good job.
Thanks.
Excellent integration.
Marty, can I add something to that? Because I think that Cameron, Jess, and I are all creators. That's what we do. From the songwriting to being in the studio and producing it to recreating it on a nightly basis live. And you talk about like the music videos is kind of your next question. You talk about the documentary that we have on CMT that exists on their CMT YouTube channels, the Sonic Ranch. You talk about the films that Cameron is writing and getting ready to direct, or something that I'm acting in, or Jess is creative directing for HBRC. All of us are creators, and we're not interested in doing something that is subpar. Everything that we're seeking, we're looking to do it at the highest level. And I think Insolito works for us as artists because it's another extension of this brand, and extension of the circle of creation that we're doing. So when it touches your lips and you taste that quality, and you understand that it's beyond us just trying to slap our name on a bottle, you realize that we created this tequila from the ground up, from the bottles, from the marketing, from the concept, to collaborating with the Herrera brothers. So I just think it's an extension of what we do, and we're not interested in half-assing anything.
Well, I love it. And the reason that I asked...
Except for on the day after a 2-day hangover.
The reason that I asked,
obviously
and that
to mail it in 2 hours.
I have that level of intrigue, Cam, is because I'm very interested in doing something too.
Oh, yeah.
And have been approached about doing something too. And you guys have walked the line, so I'm trying my best to learn. Like one of the questions that I had, which you guys have already answered, is what have you learned about the industry and the process that you didn't expect or know? And you've answered that for me. But we can shift gears now to directing and the music video and whatnot. Let's start with the Bronco.
That's Billy Bush's Bronco.
Where did the Bronco come from?
Billy Bush.
Whose is it?
TV personality Billy Bush, a good friend of
Yeah.
ours. And
Oh, okay. Yep.
Extra.
I guess, what can you say about Billy Bush? We have only nice things to say about the man. He lent us this Bronco. It's his Bronco. It's been his project. He had it restored. He spent what I believe to be a significant amount of money on.
It looks like
yeah,
it.
it's like there's not a single stitch that hasn't been replaced. And
Combed over.
yeah, right. And we were really fortunate to have borrowed it last minute. However, and you probably can't even really tell because it happens so fast, but the way that the shot happens where you really see the Bronco at the end, Mark is driving the Bronco and he slams the brakes so Jess and I can hop into the Bronco and then make our escape.
I'm gonna give you a physical recreation of the grade of the
Show 'em.
the road that this Bronco is on, that I was driving on, outside of this house up in the Hollywood Hills. Okay, let me set it on the camera. And this is not an exaggeration.
It's about that. Yeah, it was about that steep.
Okay. It was seriously
It was a hill
about that steep,
where
like going almost
when
like
I-
down.
Was Billy Bush present?
No,
Was
okay,
he
so-
okay with this?
No, hold on, check this out.
No,
It was
no.
so steep.
And this was
that-
also like midnight,
Yes, it's midnight. We've been there all day. The hill is so
and there had been a little Insolito.
It's a solid 45-degree angle, Mark.
the hill is so steep that when
Yeah,
I drove
that
into the
it's
chute,
yeah. Look at that.
I was legitimately worried to park it on this hill. Like I had to put the parking brake on.
Right.
We, pointed the tires towards the inside of the hill so that if it did in fact lose its brakes, it wouldn't just, go careening off the side of the mountain into somebody's house. It's the Hollywood Hills. So Mark slamming on the brakes. We get maybe 4 shots. We're already into overtime at this point, so it's kind of just.
The neighbor is already threatening to call the cops. He's pissed. Yeah, it was.
And so we leave, and we hop on a flight that, with 3 hours after the shoot is done, and we have a gig on the East Coast, and one of our managers, his name is Jordy, has volunteered to take the Bronco back to Billy Bush, with a bouquet of flowers and a thank you. And if you're familiar with Los Angeles, we were up in the Hollywood Hills, and in order to get to Bush's house, you have to drive on Mulholland. Mulholland Drive is it's a 2-lane highway that weaves through the mountains of Los Angeles. And he's driving it back the next day, and there's tons of hills, there's tons of inclines and declines, and he comes to a red light, hits the brakes, and the pedal goes to the floor. Essentially.
Oh my God.
So he's now in a runaway vehicle that doesn't belong to us. 1970, maybe 72, something like 68. It's one of the first models of it, and this thing is basically 2 tons of steel going 70 miles an hour. Jordy ended up safely. Thank God. The end of the story is that he finds an escape hatch, essentially an uphill, that he can take this thing up without using brakes and then pull the parking brake. But the poor guy needed therapy for 4 days after that. He thought he was going to die. He said he didn't wet his pants, but he sweat his shirt and his underwear. So, we don't know if it was piss or not, but
Sweat.
yeah.
Sweat.
Pucker factor. Pucker factor
And
pegged.
Yes, pucker factor. He could have made a diamond out of coal. But here's a testament to how great Billy Bush is. We told him it could have been our fault. We're not really sure. And that we were happy to pay for the replacement of whatever the brake situation was. And we never heard about it again. So Although we also haven't heard from Billy.
That tells me that Billy Bush might have known about this before he gave y'all the
Knew
keys to the
about
Bronco.
it. Right.
Yeah.
He still hasn't talked to us, so we're not sure if we're on good terms or not. But he didn't send us a bill, and I think that really says a lot about Billy.
Mark, I read that the sunrise video, at least in some way, was inspired by stories your dad told you. I need this. Like how did
yeah.
that inspire the video?
Well, Cameron and I have known each other since 2008. My dad is a larger than life character, and the stories that he tells are always gigantic. They might be a little bit bigger than the truth, but every good storyteller exaggerates slightly. But my old man is a former Marine Corps attack and fighter pilot, and the U.S. Marine Corps, served in Vietnam, flew I think about 800 or 700, 800 sorties in Vietnam, crash landed an A6 out at Yuma once. He's got a lot of stories. So this is a little bit of blending. It's a little bit of my old man, I think. It's a little bit of Top Gun. It's a little bit of Cameron's own machinations and mind as he wrote this, and it was his concept. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of nodding. Cam and Jess and I are huge Top Gun fans, and we also have a ton of reverence and respect for active and former U.S. military members. So it was a chance for us to get have some fun, relive some Top Gun fantasies, and also tip our hat and honor the U.S. Marine Corps and all of our servicemen and women that are out there today. So we just had fun with it, man, and it was a wild day. We squeezed in one day in between shows in LA and then had to fly to New York. Cameron was editing this thing on the bus as per usual, carrying double duty. So tip of the hat and a big hoorah to Cameron for getting that thing done. But yeah, I think it turned out great. You know, we're storytellers, okay? None of us are servicemen, and you know, for us, it's a way to have some fun and to drive people to listen to our new single and to watch it. You know, Sunrise Tells a Story. The story is about, you know, one of those wild nights that's going to lead to a 2-day hangover. But instead of just a hangover, you maybe come out of it with the love of your life. You know, it's a retelling of those stories. So it's all a little bit of blend of the truth and, you know, fantasy, which is what we do anyhow.
It's really well done.
In making these,
It is.
Thank you,
Looks
Dad,
sharp.
for us. We appreciate his service. We're that's our
will
whole
appreciate you
direction
guys.
too. We're grateful for every military member, active and veterans,
Oh yeah.
for being free.
Anybody brave enough to, anybody that's brave enough to step up and selflessly serve this country commands our respect fully, and we do everything we can to try to return the favors. So, but yeah, it was a good time, and we're really happy with how it turned out. And you know, it's our first time going to country radio with a single for 2 years. Can't remember what happened, but something happened, something like a pandemic or something happened.
Oh, it was COVID.
I was
Middle
going
of
to ask you
2020
about
when
it.
We were on a rocket ship ride. Oh, COVID, that's what it was. It's already out of my
That old
mind.
chestnut.
Already focusing on, yeah. So, you know, it was really fun. It's been really fun for us to return. I mean, it stopped a train with full steam that was running down the track at 180 miles an hour. You know, for us, we had been on a rocket ship ride. The last show we played before COVID was headlining the Houston Rodeo in front of 80,000 people. So to go from that on the heels of a very critically and commercially well received second sophomore album, you know, every single headlining show sold out, to suddenly coming out of warp speed and just being jolted into this crazy reality. Not only are you kind of lose your ability to make a livelihood, but you lose all that momentum, and then also you're in the midst of this crazy pandemic. So yeah, it was tough for us. I mean, we lost a lot of money. We lost a ton of momentum. But in a way, you always, if God gives you lemons, you gotta make margaritas. And for all your minors out there, just tell your parents it's lemonade. But for us, it was a necessary break because we had been burning it on both ends. I think all of us were at the very end of a very long wick that we had been burning. And it was a chance for us to return to our families and just be dads and be husbands. And I think we took maybe 6 weeks off, and we all just, with the rest of the world, we kind of just drank every night and watched every single show on Netflix,
Tiger King,
and whatever. Yeah, we all watched that, and then I think after 6 weeks, it was for us. It was getting back to work. We launched Insolito in the middle of a pandemic. We ended up releasing an acoustic recorded album that we recorded remotely, called Guitars, Couches, Etc. As a tip of the hat to Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
We released a documentary called The Sonic Ranch. Then we released an album called The Sonic Ranch of some songs that we've been meaning to finish for 6-7 years. And then we started writing and working on this album called The Last Resort. And ironically, the very first song we wrote in the midst of the pandemic, when we got back to work with Shane McAnally and Josh Osborne, was a song called The Last Resort. And it was a bit of escapism and wanting to dive into your art to be distracted momentarily from the chaos of reality. So that ended up kind of acting as the guiding light for the rest of the album. So for us, it was a welcome break from the road. But strangely, I think that the pandemic, when we took that time off the road, was probably the busiest. Speaking for me, I think it was the busiest I think I've ever been. And I think maybe that was our way with dealing with all of it, was just to get that we couldn't tour and play live shows. It's that we were going to do everything we could to be ready for the moment when things kind of opened up again. And that's where we found ourselves, and it's paid off, because now Midland is back on that rocket ship ride, and this time we're doing it with a little bit of extra gratitude. I think once you had it kind of ripped away from you, the shows, they feel a little different. I think they've always been important, but now it's kind of, you've seen what it's like when that gets ripped away from you, and I think now we come into it with a little bit more gratitude maybe than we did before.
Can you guys agree on what the best Dwight Yoakam album is? Obviously, your name is a hat tip to him as well.
It is, yeah. Go ahead, Cam. What's your favorite Dwight album?
That's a good question. I just actually recently, I think accidentally, got into the one that he put out in the early 2000s called Three Pairs, and it's got a really cool production on it. And the dude who played guitar for the Mavericks, and I think he's still in the band, Eddie, played guitar on that album, and it's really cool. It's like hip, and definitely like Dwight, but like more modern Dwight. I don't know if he ever did anything quite like that again. And he's put out a few albums since then, but like obviously the late 80s stuff, Guitars Cadillacs, like that early 90s shit that he was doing is kind of hard to beat, and it definitely influenced Midland. In fact, I think we really had to like make a concerted effort to not specifically try and follow such a type, like prototype with Dwight, because it was an easy reference in the very beginning, and something that a lot of people compared us to in the beginning, and we ended up getting a chance to open up for Dwight really early on in our career, and then subsequently got to know him. And I really believe that there's like, it's kind of going back to the thing from earlier regarding Insolito. And there's a quality control for sure. But I don't know if many people, um, I don't know if, I mean, there's certainly people out there that do this, but I don't know if like most people get into something and they go, I'm only going to do this halfway. I think that they do it as best as they can, but there's a limitation to their prowess in any given field. And I think because we have such a close kinship and understanding of each other and the things that we want to do, we have this really pretty incredible, like, um, energy between us and Midland. And we could have gone down this authentic, very Bakersfield sounding thing. And it was very close to happening. We did write a bunch of shit like that. But I think over time we found our own voice and something that had like a resemblance to Dwight Yoakam and something that sounded like a blend of that with the Eagles and maybe some George Strait and Merle Haggard and Gary Stewart, and like there's all these different ingredients that go into it, and you never want to do one thing, but it comes off authentic because it's something that we care about, maybe even to a comedic point, you know what I mean? Like almost Spinal Tapian in a way. And that's why, a lot of these things you just have to do in earnest on your own without filming it. But it is very much Midland's DNA to like take that rock and roll Bakersfield sound thing and like do it in our own style. So I don't know. The long answer is that they're all fucking great. And the short answer is Mark was talking about Three Pairs way before I ended up listening to it, because in my mind, really just the early 90s, late 80s shit was like the purest Dwight Yoakam stuff. But he ends up doing a lot of shit after that that's really great and worth listening to.
Couple more and we'll let you guys run. We've kept you. Why did Fair to Midland inspire your band name?
That was, that's a track from Population Me, and I do believe that was the last time that Pete Anderson, the great Pete Anderson, and Dwight Yoakam worked together as co-producers. That was just, it was on heavy rotation. I think we were all listening to that a lot. And when we were out at this place called the Sonic Ranch out in West Texas, which is kind of, I guess, our sacred home. It's where we first got together, Jess, Cam, and I. At the time, Cam and I were both living out in LA. I was at the beginning of Malibu, and Cam was up in the mountains at Topanga in the Santa Monica Mountains. And we had come back from Cameron's wedding up in Jackson Hole. And by the way, just to give it a little bit of a pretext, Cam, Jess, and I all met in LA. Cam and Jess before I did. In the early aughts, and they were playing in rock and roll, Americana bands, and I used to go see them. And when Jess left town and broke up, Cameron and I kind of picked up the pieces of that band and started a project together as well, and did that for years. So there was a long running history of playing music live and writing and recording together. We had been collaborators for a long time, and kind of had given up on it for one reason or another. And at Cameron's wedding was the first time that Jess, Cam, and I ever got together. And there's actually footage of us playing at Cam's mother-in-law's cabin overlooking the Tetons. And I think we were doing Ain't Living Long Like This by Waylon Jennings, and everybody's
Awesome.
got like a pot or a pan. Somebody's, a couple guitars, and everybody's just ding, ding, dinging. And some people aren't musicians there aren't in time, and it's pretty funny. It was DJ, Cameron's brother-in-law, and the whole thing came about really kind of authentically and very. It was really purely. It was a pure impetus, a pure catalyst. It was just about the music, and there was a joy when the three of us played together. Jess had said, "Hey, man, maybe we should try and do something at Cameron's wedding," and that was really that was the first time the match was kind of struck, and there was a little bit of a light. And then Cameron being the kind of organizer and producer of things, Cam kind of took that match and led it to some kindling wood and organized the three of us going out and chasing some of these songs that most of the songs are Jess's. I'd written a couple, and then we were writing some stuff there together. And that was at the Sonic Ranch. But at the time, you had Jess living in Austin, Texas, and you had Cam and I in LA. And I was listening to this Population Me, Dwight Yoakam album. And, when I needed some time to myself, we'd go out and smoke a joint and drink some tequila. We were drinking Herradura at the time. And have a beer and just kind of sit out there and talk. And it dawned on me that we were geographically almost exactly in the middle point between Austin, Texas, and California. And here was this idea in my head of these three guys coming together kind of in the middle. And we had been battling right from the get-go. There was tension creatively between the three of us because the three of us are all songwriters and all producers, and everybody has a really strong idea. And essentially, it's kind of like three lead singers being in a band together, three band leaders in a band together. So there was that tension, and we had to find a way to come to like a middle ground. And we realized really quickly, it kind of fortified us, how to collaborate. And the idea of being called Midland was more than just a tip of the hat to Dwight Yoakam. It was kind of a philosophical tip of the hat to, I guess, an anchor point, an anchor philosophy for this band in order to kind of survive and to thrive. We always had to meet each other in the middle, and that's why we wanted to live in this Midland. The middle ground was like this place where nothing else mattered but the music. So that's the long answer.
Dude,
the short answer
what an
is
amazing
answer.
answer.
Fair to Midland.
I love it. I love the spirituality of the answer, because it's just so much more than, hey,
Well,
here's
these
this tip.
edibles that I ate this morning are really starting to kick in. So,
They're kicking in, baby.
Is that going to come in like a combo pack with Insolito, and then you get this nice little gummy bear pack with it?
That's the thing. It's like we actually were approached not long ago about doing something like that, but the this is the real answer, Marty, is that like whatever you would end up doing, just know that it's going to take way more time. It's going to take up much more time than you ever thought it would to do in a meaningful way. So you really have to start looking at things in terms of how much bandwidth do you have to commit something full tilt,
Zero.
Right. There it is. That's the answer.
Marty, if I find out that you and Jimmy Johnson are starting a rival tequila, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a lot of recon right now. I'm going to take all this information back to Johnson, because he's funding the whole damn project.
I hear
he's a great man.
Bourbon's wide open, dude.
Shit.
Yeah,
It's so diluted. I mean, oh my God, it's so diluted. Everybody's got a whiskey all of a sudden. Jeez,
whiskey
boys,
was
calm
the first
down.
Tequila,
No.
It came before. There was a mad rush to get into that. We just got lucky that we happened to start talking about this 3 or 4 years ago, before the whiskey or before the tequila craze happened. I mean, we knew that we were on the right track when the rock.
Actually, six years ago, Cam.
6 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time.
2016.
Yeah. Wow. The time has flown by. It took that long to just get all of our ducks in a row and find the right, the right partners in this whole thing, design the bottle and all that.
Y'all are making me feel real damn good about my upcoming project. I appreciate the votes of confidence. I have no time, no money. I don't want to put a lot of effort in. I'm screwed. Hey, grateful for you guys, man. Love your work, love your spirit, and appreciate your time. I know it's fleeting and it's precious, so thank you for giving us a lot of it.
Thanks
Thank
for having us,
y'all. All right, so let's discuss the fact that they love Dwight Yoakam as much as they love Dwight Yoakam, and that he was such a catalyst in their path. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. got inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame back in January, his wife, Amy Earnhardt, threw a surprise party for him. Actually, I don't think it was a surprise party. I made that up.
The
Threw a
party wasn't a
for
surprise.
him.
The concert was a surprise.
Yeah, that's right. Threw a party for him down at the Fillmore, downtown Charlotte here. A bunch of us went down to this party, and a bunch of us rented this big party bus and made our way to the Fillmore downtown. And we're having a blast, having a great time. Well, what like 5 of us knew and Dale Jr. did not know is that Dwight Yoakam, I mean, maybe his favorite artist ever, certainly one of his top artists ever, was there to surprise him with a show. And Dale did not know this until Dwight walked onto the stage. And that was the coolest thing ever. Like, I love Fast as You. Let's go back to Uncle Rico Marty, that guy right back there in that picture behind me. You like that High Point? You like that, Wes? Send that to Kirby Smart, son. Send that to Kirby Smart.
You could be a weatherman with that point.
Is your foot on the ground?
Actually, no. It's funny. Let me get this picture. Hold on.
Maybe I'm as fast as you.
This is actually very funny. Okay, so I'm trying to do it where the light does. Okay, look. So those of you watching on the YouTube machine, you can see that I am intercepting this pass against the Narrows Green Wave. Let me repeat that. The Narrows Green Wave. That's our crosstown rivals. And the way our football field was shaped in Parisburg, it's actually like, it's not flat. Our football field at my high school is not flat. There's like a natural curve.
A dome in the middle, right?
Yes. It is convex, as they say in the skateboarding world. It is convex. And as a result of that, the photographer from our local newspaper, the Virginian Leader, who captured the shot, is on the sideline. So he's much lower than I am intercepting the pass on the field. So it looks like I have this insanely high vertical leap while I'm intercepting, high pointing this ball. That is not the case at all. I might be 4 inches off the ground, maybe 4.
Just some trickery. You got that
lot of
Phil Mickelson
trickeration.
vertical.
Is the rival the team that Shane Beamer played for?
Well, they were a rival too. He played for Blacksburg High School.
Oh, so you're like Georgia. You guys had you just had rivals all around.
We do. Yeah. When you're good, that's what happens when you're good. When you're good, it's like John Calipari says to me every single shoot around. We're everybody's Super Bowl. That's just how it is when you're great, right, Wesley? So, did my voice just crack like I was 16? I think it might have. Anyway, back to Dwight. So, I love Fast as You, and I love 1,000 Miles from Nowhere because my senior year of high school, when we were playing for that state title, 1,000 Miles from Nowhere was the biggest song in country music. And they made our booster club or somebody made this highlight tape on VHS that was like a state championship run montage of excellence.
Oh, that's great.
And redneckery called the Spartan Spectacular, I think. Anyway, they totally ripped off Fast as You. Like, if Dwight knew this, he'd probably sue us.
Well, that's the funny thing, though, about those at that level. They can be as creative as they want. Like, I wanted to make after the final Coffee Town video and the announcer falls in the stadium collapses. Like, I wanted to do Sarah McLachlan's Arms of the Angel like montage, but I knew that I would be the only one that could watch it because they'd sue my ass off if I put it out there. But I still might make it just so I can enjoy it, share it with.
But you should, dude. Again, like it. Dwight Yoakam is not going to care that the Giles High School Nowhere Appalachia Booster Club used 1,000 Miles from Nowhere to champion
why were we all 1,000 miles from nowhere?
Because we grew up in Parisburg, son. That's why. Because we are 1,000 miles from nowhere.
I love that.
Well, we appreciate the fellas from Midland hanging out. Love their perspective. Again, make sure you check out their new record. Comes out May 6th. I can't wait to hear it. And I'll tell you another thing about those guys, man. So I went to the CMT Awards, I think, one of the award shows many moons ago. Maybe
every
like
month
2000,
it's hard to remember.
2018, somewhere around in there probably. And my buddy Jimmy Johnson, the NASCAR driver, now IndyCar star, was presenting. He was a presenter at the CMT Awards or the ACMs or whatever we went to. And he was a huge fan of theirs. And so we went to a party, a post party, and they were there, and they became fast friends, and we marveled at their outfits. I know we discussed it there on the interview, but they have the coolest suits. I got to get me Travis. I need to call Mark. I need them to make me one of those bedazzled rhinestone suits for the Masters. For Masters Sunday, it needs to be like green sequins or something with the Masters logo across the back.
Yeah.
Right?
Talk about some trademark problems.
You thought
Yeah, that might be an issue.
you thought the seersucker made a statement on Sunday this past year.
Boy,
You
that
were
thing was polarizing. I didn't realize that thing was going to be so polarizing.
I do have Jordy, the person they mentioned in there, his contact information. I will reach out and see if we can work on something here.
Got to do that. You hit up
Maybe
Jordy.
for if you wore it to like an F1 event or the Kentucky Derby, maybe that's where you wear it at. A little more, not so buttoned up.
Well, I don't know. Like, I'm not too sure that it would really work too well to wear a Masters suit.
Well, no, you wouldn't get a
Formula
master. It wouldn't be a master.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot, but that seems a little bit out of context there.
No, you could get you could get a horse on it instead of like the Masters logo. I'm not saying
Well, that's
wear the
true.
Masters
I could
suit
get like a
somewhere
race
else.
car on the back of my bedazzled
Especially like
sequins.
Think about if you go down
Get
to
up.
Miami in a bedazzled suit, like you'd fit right in.
All right, so we should discuss this because this is something that's been on my mind. I've been thinking about calling my tailor and asking him to make me a suit for the Miami F1 extravaganza that is like pink or teal or mint seafoam, like super South Beach Miami.
No, what you need to do the Miami Vice. You just need to go full like crew neck shirt.
Yes.
That's where you need to roll.
You think I can convince McGee to do that too?
Oh, absolutely, man. Y'all will
he'd
crush
be
that.
all in.
So here's another idea: is have them make you pants, but like capri pants. I think you look real good in those.
Well, I don't know about
Show
that.
some
Travis-
ankles.
Travis really liked. We saw some pants at the Masters that were like cuffed golf pants, and Travis really liked them. I mean, he really liked them, and he wants to incorporate that into his
Travis,
wardrobe.
a big pants guy.
Big pants guy.
I don't.
Big pants
I don't.
guy.
They won't work with me. I hate pants. But I'm thinking like I screwed up. Your birthday was last week. I should have just ordered you a pair and had them sent to Laney and Laney give them to you because that would have been a great gift.
Well, speaking of wardrobes, those of you watching on the YouTube machine, you can see that we really brought the heat today. I mean, everybody has on. I mean, Wes has on his "How About Them Dogs" hoodie. Mm-hmm. How much of your wardrobe is comprised of the University of Georgia's logo?
A fair amount. I have a couple golf shirts from when I worked there in college.
Like 50?
No, not 50. Probably 15.
35%?
No, I got a lot of shirts, man. I'm not threadbare over here. I have Georgia shirts and I have other shirts. But Home Field Apparel, who I would love to collaborate with, they sent me like this hoodie, 4 or 5 Georgia T-shirts before the season even started. So next year I'm going to need them to send some more because obviously it's a good tradition and things worked out for all parties involved. But yeah, got a big boost in the Georgia apparel there because I just like their style. They're pretty throwback, but good quality, you know.
All right, Home Field Apparel. You heard it here first.
Yep.
How about them dogs?
Yep, got the Jack D.
Travis is-
What are you wearing, Travis? What is that? Is that a Lakers?
Macho Man.
Oh,
Macho Man t-shirt.
the Macho Man.
Is that from
Yeah.
what's your bunch up there that does all the? Yeah, what are they called?
Homage.
Homage. Yes.
Homage.
Travis loves him some. Travis sent me a homage
JT
T-shirt
Barrett.
that it has. It's like JT Barrett's senior picture. That's all it is. That's it. JT Barrett's senior picture.
I think he was like sitting like this, wasn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, like Napoleon Dynamite or Step Brothers or something.
So speaking of the Dale Jr. Dwight Yoakam night, is that the night of like the ambulance or whatever that you've never told the story?
Oh, the EMT story.
The EMT.
That is the night.
I think this
that
is
is
our
the
this
night.
is our.
Can we get
the-
some
our
like
on-ramp to
some
that story
mystical harp music edited into this?
All right, we'll tell
It's like
this
a
story,
throwback.
and then we'll get out. So, again, a bunch of us rented like a bus, like a big Sprinter van, 10 or 15 of us, came down from Lake Norman to go to downtown Charlotte. Country comes to town. All the rednecks from the lake are making their way downtown. And Dale Jr. just happens to be sponsored by, or not sponsored by, he's a partner, Sugarland's Distillery out in East Tennessee. They do an awesome job. They got like moonshines. They got all kinds of like super tasty drinks. They have a whiskey that I love and will knock your socks off called Roaming Man. They just have awesome product. And Junior has High Rock Vodka, which is a super high-end, pure, I don't know how many times distilled vodka that Dale Jr. and Amy are the face of. It's called High Rock, all right? So they are there, and they're just filling us full of these drinks. And we're having a blast. It's great to see these folks. Lainey and I have not seen many of them for quite some time. And we go to the party, and the party is it's all of our friends from NASCAR, a bunch of my buddies from back in the day I hadn't seen forever. So I'm in my element. I'm on fire. We're having a ball. Party goes late. We finally leave, come back to the lake. Lainey and I are the last two people that this Sprinter van drops off. Last two. Drops us off at the house. Well, I get home. We walk in the door, and Vivian, who's asleep in her room, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, something like that. She's asleep in the room. All the kids are asleep. And her fire smoke detector is doing that god-awful annoying beep, beep. You know, like every 10 seconds it makes that beep to let you know the battery's dead. So I'm like, man, I can't handle that all night long, and it's going to wake Vivi up, so I better go change this thing. Well, in my overserved state, I went to the wrong
House.
detector. No, it was the right house. I went to the right house. I went to the wrong detector. This was maybe the CO, whatever it's called, carbon monoxide one or something. And so I am like messing with it, and I'm like, shoot, that's the wrong one. I think nothing of it. I open Vivi's door, and right there's her smoke detector. And there it plugs in. There is a wire that plugs into the house with the smoke detector. So I unplugged the wire. I changed the battery. As I'm doing this, I don't have my phone with me. My phone's on the counter downstairs in the kitchen. I'm upstairs. Little do I know, it immediately called the fire department. My home invasion system,
smart home.
my alarm system, calls the fire department, calls the police department. I don't know this. So here they are blowing me up. I get downstairs and I'm drunk. So I'm like trying to turn my house alarm off. It's setting my house alarm off. So I am trying my tail off. I'm like, honey, what's our pin? I don't know the pin. So I'm like trying everything to turn. Nothing's turning off. So Lainey doesn't have her phone on her either. Again, going back to losing it all the time. And I am just defeated. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. So I'll figure it out, whatever. And y'all, I walk out of my kitchen, through my living room, and around towards the front door. And here I see it. It's like the 4th of July out there, son. It's like the daggum Macy's Day Parade out there. There is lights, camera, action, buddy. And down, I see a light flickering down the driveway, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I open the door. The police are coming, and I'm like, hey, fellas, come on. It's freezing cold outside. I said, I don't, just come on in. Nothing's wrong.
Sir.
Yeah, like, nothing's wrong. Come on in. And so the police come in, and they're like trying to help us figure out how to turn the thing off and whatever. And they're like, so nothing's wrong. There's nothing on fire. Nothing's broke. No issues. I'm like, no, just I've had a couple too many drinks tonight. That's all there is to it. And they are giggling their tails off. And fortunately, Lainey, being Lainey, had a whole file of information on this alarm system, finds the pin, turns it off. Policeman's in our bedroom trying to help her turn off the thing. And ultimately, we get it turned off. Everything's fine. And I go to say thank you to the police. I'm like, and here's a fire truck pulling up to my house.
Sir, if you listen
I'm
to the
like-
Marty Smith podcast, you'll know I love the EMTs.
It was such a shit show.
Did your kids
But-
wake up?
No, my kid, not a single one of them ever
Yeah.
woke up. They never even knew it happened. But you talk
I
about
think you need to
mortified.
have-
So I had 3 missed calls from the dispatcher. Laney has 2. Laney answered the third one, I think. So they've called our house 6 times trying to figure out if our house is burning down. I mean, it was just a colossal mess. But
I
grateful
think
to
that you
them.
need to-
And I know I'm almost certain that they had a very good idea once I started talking, and I think I could see their light bulb go off. Like, this is that dipshit from ESPN.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
that's
know
my
it. I could see their wheels turning. Like, that idiot. What an idiot. So they're probably telling all their buddies back at the spot, listen to what this fool
Oh,
did.
trust me, they have stories. They're still talking
They
about
got
it.
a lot. They got a lot of them. But yep, that was
I
my.
think you need to have them. You need to have them out to the house and have some cold ones or something. And this is your.
I thanked
your
them
Maricopa.
profusely because they got real stuff going on. I mean, like, they got real things to worry about, and my stupidity.
Real fires.
All I did was keep them from doing what they do every day and busting their tails to keep us safe. And
You
holy
could have
cow,
been your own hillbilly headline.
I was on the precipice of it.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing. Oh, that would have been the greatest.
I was on the precipice of that. On that note, I think that's a perfect segue to say thank you to our law enforcement officials all over the country, working hard to keep us safe and thwart our
Keep
stupidity.
us safe from ourselves.
Thank you to our fire and rescue, all of our EMTs for your courage and bravery and thwarting our
Thank you, Lake
stupidity.
Norman PD.
And thank you to the United States military. We're so grateful for freedom. Y'all have an amazing week. Thank you for listening to Wes, Travis, and me on the Marty Smith podcast at Outsider. Be well.